I saw Larry again at my best friend's wedding. 5 years after he vanished without a trace. He was the groom. I was the bridesmaid. My best friend grabbed my arm, grinning from ear to ear, eager to share their love story. He was in a car accident back then. I'm the one who saved him, she said cheerfully. I heard he even had a fiancée, but I rushed him overseas that very night for treatment. So, she added smugly. Pretty badass move, right? Claire was still talking excitedly, but I couldn't hear a single word. All I could hear was a sharp ringing in my ears. 5 years. Nearly 2,000 days and nights. The man I loved most had been hidden away by my best friend, for 5 whole years. I bent over, gasping for air, my entire body trembling uncontrollably. Noticing my pallor, Claire hurriedly supported me and guided me into the dressing room. She asked cautiously, Nana, what's wrong? Is your depression acting up again? For the past 5 years, in order to find Larry, I had gone everywhere. Asked countless people, posted missing person notices, even bought trending searches online. Even his own family had given up. I was the only one who kept searching. On countless nights, I stood by the roadside, over and over again, wondering if I should just end a life swallowed whole by despair. And now, it had all become a joke. I stared at the countless scars on my right wrist. Cuts that had split open and healed again and again. My eyes burned. My heart felt as though it were being torn apart. Claire sighed. You're still thinking about your fiancé, aren't you? Stop looking. It's been so long, he's probably dead. Another day, I'll set you up with someone. I'll have Tingbai's good friend introduce you to a nice guy. The words had barely left her mouth when Larry walked in. He was dressed in a black suit, tall and straight. Exactly the same as he'd been 5 years ago. Our eyes met. He glanced at me briefly, indifferently, then stepped forward to adjust Claire's wedding dress. Behind him stood the groomsmen. His old friends. Most of them I recognized. When they saw me, their eyes filled with words left unsaid. If this had happened just moments earlier, I might have convinced myself that Larry had lost his memory, that he simply didn't remember me. But his friends told me everything. He hadn't lost his memory. He remembered it all. He just didn't love me anymore. Claire quickly said, Hubby, make sure your friends don't leave tonight. Let's have some real fun. She shot me a meaningful look. Larry nodded casually. He didn't spare me another glance. As if we had never known each other at all. I slowly closed my eyes. It felt as though someone had clenched my heart in a fist. Ripped it out. And thrown it into a blazing fire. I had never felt pain like this before. I desperately needed an outlet, anything, to ease the madness surging inside me. I stood up and rushed into the restroom. I slammed my head into the wall. A dull thud echoed. Blood instantly stained my forehead. My body swayed. My vision blurred. I leaned against the wall and slid down slowly, a sharp, piercing pain tearing through me. Again and again, I struck the back of my head against the wall. As if only then could my heart feel a fleeting moment of release. It hurt. It hurt so much. I curled up, clutching myself, as a dense, crushing pain spread through my chest. Then I let out a soft, broken laugh. Larry, so this is it. You don't want me anymore. By the time I came out of the restroom, the wedding had already begun. Understanding that I wasn't in a good state, Claire found someone else to replace me at the last minute. I stood at the very back, watching as she stood on the stage, smiling sweetly, saying I do. Larry knelt down solemnly on one knee, took out the ring, and placed it on her ring finger. A sharp stab of jealousy rose in my chest. I wanted to rush forward and stop them. I wanted to scream at Claire. Why she stole my fiancé, why she hid him away, why she let me search for 5 years without finding him. More than that, I wanted to ask Larry. Why pretend not to know me? Why not look for me when you came back? Why did everyone hide the truth from me? I wanted to smash this wedding to pieces. But I didn't. I simply sat in the corner and, after they finished their vows, led the applause. I clapped loudly. So loudly that people around me turned to look. I didn't care. When Larry looked over at me, I met his gaze. Our eyes locked. My nose burned, and the tears I'd been holding back fell instantly. His brows twitched slightly. Then he calmly looked away. In those dark, deep eyes, there was no emotion left at all. I clenched my fists until my palms ached. I thought, I might really be going insane. I took out my phone and sent him a message. Larry, I don't want to wish you a happy marriage. I curse you. I curse you to never get what you want for the rest of your life. The next second, I laughed at myself. The person he loved had already married him. My curse meant nothing. I didn't wait for the wedding to end. I went straight home. Because if I stayed any longer, I was afraid I'd completely lose control. 3 years ago, when news of Larry disappeared again, I tried to kill myself. Unfortunately, I failed. A neighbor found me and sent me to the hospital. When I woke up, Larry's mother held my hand, her eyes red with tears, begging me to live on, for his sake. But a world without Larry was unbearably bitter. We met when we were 6. Fell in love in high school. Right after graduating college, we chose a date and went to register our marriage. But on his way there, he was in a car accident. After that, he vanished completely. I went to the police station countless times, asked every stranger at the accident scene. Without exception. No one had seen him. Now he was back. But he didn't love me anymore. I drifted into a hazy sleep. When I woke up and checked my phone again, there were missed calls from Claire, messages of comfort from Larry's mom. And one glaring reply. Just a single, icy word, get lost. I let out a bitter laugh. So this was it. All the longing I had clung to. In his eyes, it was nothing more than a joke. I shut myself away completely. Night after night, I couldn't sleep. My hair fell out in handfuls. I didn't step outside for 10 days. I grew thinner at a pace visible to the naked eye. My already frail body looked like nothing but skin and bones. Until one day, Claire showed up at my door after failing to reach me by phone. Larry stood behind her. I hadn't bathed for 10 days. There was a faint odor clinging to me. But Claire didn't mind at all. She rushed forward, wrapped her arms around me, and dragged me toward the door, insisting on taking me to the hospital. I knew exactly what she was afraid of. I gently pulled my hand free, my expression flat, my tone polite but distant. I'm fine. Thank you. I didn't know how to face Claire. With resentment, or with blessings. I realized I could do neither. So instinctively, I wanted to keep my distance. She didn't take offense at my sudden coldness, only assuming I was in a bad mood. Claire let out a heavy sigh of relief. Can you answer your phone from now on? What, did you buy it just for decoration? Do you have any idea how worried I was? Starting today, my husband and I are moving in with you. We'll take care of you until you're better. No refusals. Rebound, rebound, rebound. Her expression was serious, her tone firm. Bright, warm, wholehearted. The kind of person it was impossible not to love. So it was no wonder Larry had fallen for her. I looked at the man standing behind her. His gaze was cold. Those dark eyes narrowed slightly, as if he were looking at a stranger. Even if he was distant as ice, even if he stood worlds away. I still craved a trace of his warmth. Even if it no longer belonged to me. If only I could see him again. One more day, one more moment, even one more second. I didn't know whether I gave in because I couldn't resist Claire's concern, or because of my own selfishness. In the end, I let them move in. This apartment had once been mine and Larry's future marital home. The place we planned to live in after getting married. After he disappeared, I decorated it according to his preferences. The furniture, the layout. Everything was done in his style. Claire widened her eyes. Wow, Nana, your taste is unique. Why is everything so dark? It's all black and gray, so depressing. Not a hint of color anywhere. Because my world no longer had any light. I spoke softly. My fiancé liked it this way. So I decorated it according to his taste. Claire frowned. But you should have had some opinions of your own. Why did you always go along with everything he wanted? In my house, my husband listens to me. It's super cozy, I make him sleep on pink sheets every day. I lowered my eyes. Vaguely, I remembered the early days when we first lived together. I loved pink back then. The bed sheets, cups, toothbrushes, bowls, everything was pink. Even his underwear. I bought those in pink too. He never wore them. Not once. As for the bed sheets, he would rather sleep on the floor than on the bed. Only after I reluctantly changed the color did he finally come back to sleep in bed. My body stiffened for a moment. Almost like self-harm, I asked, really? Then, would he sleep on the floor? Claire let out a cold laugh and shot Larry a sideways glance. Like hell he would. He even wears pink underwear now. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Larry's face. He lightly tapped her on the head, trying to stop her. What's wrong with pink sheets? If your fiancé slept on the floor over something like that, it only proves he didn't love you enough. And you still searched for him for so many years, what a damn scumbag. After a long silence, I nodded in agreement. You're right. Maybe, he really didn't love me that much. The moment I said it, I felt Larry's gaze pause on me. His voice was cold, cutting. In that case, Miss Gianna, you should have the decency to step aside. So you won't disturb other people's lives. If possible, it'd be best if you disappeared from his sight forever. Self-inflicted devotion only makes people feel more disgusted. His words were blunt. Cruel. Self-inflicted devotion. So that was it. All this time, I had only been moving myself. My eyes reddened instantly. My voice trembled. You know him so well, because you're the same kind of person, aren't you? Disappearing whenever you feel like it. Making someone wait. Draining all their hope. And in the end, you still call them self-deluded. All I ever wanted was an explanation. Are my 5 years really something you can just brush away so lightly? Larry frowned, his temper flaring. No one told you to wait. Love and hate are matters of choice. Since you chose to wait, shouldn't you bear the consequences yourself? Or did you think that just because you waited 5 years, he should be grateful and marry you? His words were cold and final. I stood there in a daze as every trace of hope and expectation I had once held collapsed in an instant. Tears spilled from my eyes. Larry's words were like a sharp blade, stabbing into me again and again. He put it so perfectly. Love and hate were matters of choice. No one forced me. No one asked me to wait. So the outcome I face today should be borne by me alone. What I once believed to be unbreakable love had now become something distant and unreal. Sensing that things had gone wrong, Claire hurried over to smooth things out. She pulled Larry into the room with her. Her warning, neither loud nor soft, still reached my ears. Are you looking for a fight? You know Nana's not in a good place, and you still talk like that? Stop provoking her. Do you hear me? Larry let out a mocking laugh, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Just an act. I stood there, stunned, saying nothing for a long time. The wound on my forehead throbbed faintly, as if mocking my one-sided devotion. After that argument, I rarely saw Larry again. Perhaps he was deliberately avoiding me. We lived under the same roof for half a month, yet our encounters could be counted on one hand. I grew increasingly quiet, spending most of my time alone in my room. Claire often kept me company, cooking different dishes for me every day, coaxing me into taking my medication. Selfishly, I wished she wouldn't be so good to me. Her kindness left me without even the nerve to want what she had. Made me feel like a third party, secretly coveting another woman's husband. But how could I accept that? I was jealous of the way Larry smiled at her, of the way he treated her so gently. At times, I even wanted to gouge out my own eyes. I had also harbored a despicable thought. That if Larry had died somewhere out there, at least I could still deceive myself. I began spending long hours in the living room, hoping that if Larry came back, I could catch one more glimpse of him. But it was as if he sensed it. He didn't appear for days in a row. I couldn't help asking Claire, where is he? Curled up on the couch, replying to messages, she smiled sweetly. Didn't I tell you? He hadn't been back in the country for 3 years. There's a lot going on at the company, so he hasn't been coming over lately. I froze. Disbelief slipped out of my mouth. Larry, came back 3 years ago? Why didn't I know? Yeah. He came back to discuss our marriage. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My eyes went utterly dead. All that echoed in my numb mind was the same sentence. He came back. He came back. My entire body went cold. I wanted to scream, but when I opened my mouth, only hoarse, broken air came out. Claire's words struck my face like a vicious slap. The next second, she jumped up excitedly. Nana, hurry, hurry. Go change. We're heading to your residence right now. My husband wants me to bring you to meet someone. I just saw his photo, he's ridiculously handsome. As she spoke, she dragged me back to the bedroom, changing my clothes and putting on light makeup at top speed. I let her do whatever she wanted. Because I wanted to see Larry. When we arrived, Claire immediately sat down beside Larry and shot me a look, signaling for me to be bold. I said nothing and quietly found a seat. From that angle, I could see Larry's every move. Under Claire's teasing, the corner of his thin lips lifted slightly. In the dim lighting, his long fingers casually traced the curve of her waist. Claire let out a soft sound and began nibbling at him. Larry locked her wrists without hesitation and kissed her fiercely. They kissed with abandon. I hurriedly turned my head away, unable to watch any longer. My hands clenched tightly in my lap. I lowered my head, unable to suppress it any longer as tears burst free. It felt as though the last line of defense in my heart had finally collapsed. In this relationship, the one who left abruptly was Larry. The one trapped inside the besieged city was me. A strange sense of relief flickered through me. Thank goodness. Thank goodness the lights were dim. No one would see my humiliation. I turned my head away, only to unexpectedly meet a pair of smiling eyes. Justin curved his lips into a grin, his tone lazily irreverent. Well, hello there. The neighbor who played cut the rope in the bathtub. My eyelid twitched sharply. 3 years ago, it had been him. The one who broke down the door, rushed me to the hospital, and stayed there for an entire week. Yet whenever he spoke to me, his words were always edged with mockery, cooling whatever gratitude I'd wanted to express. After that, even if we ran into each other in the elevator, we never spoke. Justin continued, TSK. We've been neighbors for over 4 years now, and you're really going to pretend you don't know me? I frowned slightly. No. Thank you for what happened last time. The corner of his mouth lifted. He raised a brow and lowered his voice to mimic mine. Well, look at that. Such a forgetful benefactor, only remembering to say thanks 3 years later. Let me calculate how much interest that's accrued. So, how do you plan to repay me? Justin shifted closer, sitting beside me. His thigh, wrapped in suit pants, pressed against the hem of my dress. I could clearly feel his warmth. His voice dropped into a teasing murmur. How about hiding in my arms and crying for a bit? I'll just collect a little interest first. My lashes trembled. I didn't want to respond. I lifted my head and glanced toward Larry, only to find that he was looking at me too. In his dark, shadowed eyes, there was a trace of mockery, subtle, but unmistakable. I lowered my head and let out a bitter smile. Was this what he wanted? To rid himself of me? So he chose to push me toward someone else. I mocked my own foolishness. How could I still harbor hope? Wasn't the answer obvious? What was I still clinging to? That absurd matchmaking dinner finally put an end to my 5-year obsession. After the gathering ended, Larry tossed me a keycard to the top floor. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly, a look of contempt in his smile. You've been lonely for so long, he said. Go ahead. Let it all out tonight. President Justin is in good shape, he added casually. He should be able to satisfy you. He leaned closer, his voice lowered. But can he find your sensitive spots? I looked at him. Stared for a long time. Larry, I give in. If this is what you want, then I'll grant it. I took the keycard, turned around, and went upstairs, to Justin's room. He was half reclined on the bed, glancing at me from the corner of his eye. He's the one you spent 5 years looking for. I was slightly surprised, but on second thought, it made sense. My search for Larry had been common knowledge in our circle. It wasn't strange that Justin knew. Yeah. Justin stubbed out his cigarette irritably. So this is why you've reduced yourself to this state. I frowned. What's wrong with how I look? You look miserable, he said flatly. Anyone who didn't know better would think your husband just died. For once, I agreed with him. Yeah. He died a long time ago. Justin chuckled softly, lifting his gaze with careless ease. Beneath the laziness in his eyes was a rare trace of seriousness. Gianna, I've never been a gentleman, he said. You can lean on me. You can use me as your last straw. But once you walk into this room, you should know what it means. His meaning was obvious. I nodded, reached for him of my own accord, and let myself fall with him, until everything went silent. I had been suppressing myself for far too long. From the moment I saw him at the wedding, from the moment I learned that Claire had taken him away for 5 years, from the moment I found out he had returned 3 years ago and still let me sink into despair day after day. I had already gone mad. I completely gave myself over. I stayed with Justin in that hotel for 3 days and 3 nights. I asked myself, too, did I still love him? Did I still long for him? The answer was, love. But no more longing. On the 4th day, Justin and I got dressed and went our separate ways. When I returned home, Claire rushed over excitedly, eager to hear how things had gone. Justin had many tricks. Over those 3 days, he had pushed me to my limits. I did my best to keep up with him. My body was covered in deep marks and bruises. Claire's eyes widened. Damn. I knew he was capable, but not this capable. Is there even a single spot on you that's untouched? I said nothing. I only felt a gaze, cold and piercing, moving slowly over me. I sneered inwardly, met that sharp look head-on, and curved my lips into a smile. Turning to Claire, I said, tell your husband thanks for me. Thanks for making me finally give up. With that, I walked straight back to my room. As I passed through the living room, Larry suddenly stood up. A flicker of jealousy burned through his deep, shadowed eyes. His expression darkened frighteningly as he spoke in a cold voice. No need to have her say it for you. I'm standing right here, you can thank me yourself. I turned to face him and said calmly, thank you. Not wanting to entangle myself any further, I turned to leave. But Larry stepped forward and grabbed my arm. I twisted my wrist, but his grip was tight. Too tight to break free. I frowned and shot him a look, reminding him that Claire was still here. Don't go too far. But he acted as if he hadn't noticed. He stepped closer, bent down, and leaned in by my ear. Thanking me for finding someone to scratch your itch? Looks like you drained him pretty thoroughly. Must have been hard, holding it in for 5 years. If he can't handle it anymore, you can always come to me, he said lightly. Don't worry, I'll just use my hands. Because, he finished coldly, I find you dirty. In that instant, I felt like I'd fallen into an icy abyss. My heart sank hard. Larry didn't spare me even a shred of dignity. His words left me utterly humiliated. It was him who didn't want me. Him who pushed me toward Justin. So why did he always act as though I were the one who betrayed him? I couldn't take it anymore. I wrenched my arm free and slapped him across the face. Mindful of Claire, I deliberately lowered my voice. Larry, you humiliate me again and again only because you know I couldn't let go of you. But not anymore. I'm done. I was finally letting myself go. Seeing me strike Larry, Claire hurried forward to stand between us, her tone turning sharp. Gianna, why did you hit my husband? Looking at her, I felt nothing but exhaustion. I turned and went back to my room, though I could still faintly hear her questioning him. Didn't I tell you not to provoke her? She's not stable lately. What exactly did you say to her? And why were you standing so close? Larry didn't answer. He only stood there, unblinking, staring at my retreating back. Because I had hit Larry, Claire barely spoke to me for several days. My feelings toward her were complicated. She was my best friend, the one who had stayed with me through countless nights when I wanted to end everything. The one who had comforted me all night long, who, afraid I might do something irreversible, even arranged for people to watch over me. On the surface, it seemed as though she had never wronged me. And yet, she was the one who had hurt me the deepest. Those 5 years of hell. My despair. My helplessness. All of it existed because of her. Because she fell for Larry, she took him away from me for a full 5 years. Even knowing he had a fiancé, she still stepped into our relationship. So in the end, who had intruded into whose world? I was not a magnanimous person. I couldn't bless her. And I no longer wanted to play the role of the third wheel in their marriage. So when Claire once again mocked me over hitting Larry, I spoke plainly. You should move out. Claire froze for a moment, then exploded. Just because I said a few things, you're kicking me out. So all these days of taking care of you were for nothing? You were the one who hit my husband. I'm already being generous by not holding it against you. And now you're pushing your luck? Gianna, are you seriously so mentally ill that you'll never get better? No wonder you got depression. No wonder your fiancé didn't want you. Damn it, if he'd stayed with you, he wouldn't have been able to stand you either. I said nothing. I let her vent all her anger at me. Fine. If she cursed me enough, then the last trace of guilt I felt toward her would disappear completely. When she finally finished yelling, I spoke softly. Claire, let's not see each other anymore. You should move out today. After that, I didn't look at her again. I walked straight out and went next door. Thinking about it now, it was almost laughable. For 5 years, I had pushed everyone away because they all thought I was sick. Other than Claire, no one bothered with me at all. I knocked on the door, expecting to see Justin. Instead, a woman in a camisole opened it. She looked half asleep, her voice thick and drowsy as she asked who I was. I froze for 2 seconds, then asked anyway. Where's Justin? She pointed inside. Sleeping. Want to come in? My throat tightened. I knew Justin never lacked women, but having other women while he was still involved with me, I couldn't stand it. It disgusted me. No need. I hurried downstairs. Only then did I realize, bleakly, that I had nowhere to go. During the 5 years I searched for Larry, my parents had begged me to give up. I refused. Eventually, they stopped caring. And the only place I could call home now held 2 people I didn't want to see. My phone kept ringing. I glanced at it. Most of the calls were from Claire. There was also one from Justin. I didn't want to answer. I opened WeChat. Claire had sent several 60-second voice messages. She knew I wouldn't listen, so the last message was text. You scared my baby. Come back and apologize, and I might forgive you. She'd given me a way out. But I didn't want to take it. After a moment, I calmly typed 2 words. Move out. Congratulate them? I couldn't. Not in 5 years. Not in 10. Not even until the day I die. If I could forgive everything, then my 5 years would become nothing but a joke. I stayed outside until 3 in the morning before going back. Claire still hadn't moved out. After washing up, I lay down on the bed. That was when Justin's call came in. I hesitated for a second, then answered. Come out. I replied calmly, it's late. We'll talk tomorrow. Since he had other women, there was no reason to continue this. Justin clicked his tongue. When you needed me, you didn't wait for next time. You heartless little thing, run away right after you're satisfied. I was left speechless. After thinking for a moment, I still put on my nightgown and went out. Justin was leaning against the wall, a cigarette between his long fingers. When he saw me, he flicked it away and pulled me straight into the stairwell. He pressed me against the wall, lifted my nightdress to my waist, and showered my back with dense, lingering kisses. His breathing grew heavier. Just as he was about to go further, I pressed down on his hand. Justin, if you have other women, don't touch me. It makes me uncomfortable. He didn't stop. Still kissing, he replied vaguely, who do I have? I pressed my lips together. I didn't know whether to bring up what I'd seen earlier. If I didn't say anything, he wouldn't stop. If I did, I'd feel petty. I wasn't even his girlfriend, why should I care who his other woman was? I stayed silent. Justin turned me around to face him, a teasing note in his voice. So, you saw someone at my place today and got jealous? I froze. So he knew. I shook my head. Not jealous. I just don't like sharing a toy with someone else. His eyes narrowed slightly. After a moment, he let out a low laugh. This toy is yours. Other than you, no one else touches it. My cheeks flushed. Before I could say anything, he hoisted me up and carried me back inside. I didn't leave Justin's place until dawn was almost breaking. When I returned, I saw Larry sitting on the sofa. He hadn't turned on the lights. The living room was pitch black. Only by the pale moonlight did I make out that dark silhouette. I was a little surprised, but I didn't say anything. Larry crushed out his cigarette. It was too dark to see his expression clearly. Yet I could still feel his gaze. Sharp as blades, as if he wanted to carve holes into me. In the stillness, I could faintly hear the sound of knuckles cracking from how tightly he was clenching his fists. He suddenly stood up and walked toward me, stopping right in front of me. His presence was vicious, like a storm about to break. Did you do it again? Gianna, are you really that desperate for men? It sounded like a joke. When he gave me the room keycard, hadn't he known exactly what would happen? I lifted my head and looked at him. At such close range, I could clearly see the terrifying madness in his eyes. After a long pause, I finally spoke. Larry, did you come back 3 years ago? That question had haunted me for far too long. If I didn't ask it, I would never be at peace. He avoided answering and snarled instead. I asked if you slept with him again. Are you that damn needy? Will you die without a man? Do you even understand? Just because I married Claire doesn't mean I stopped loving you. If you wanted it, you could have told me. I would have satisfied you. Why do you keep going to Justin? As he spoke, he shoved me hard onto the sofa and leaned down to pin me. My eyes widened. Before I could question him, he viciously sealed my lips with his. I reached up to push him away, but Larry freed one hand and easily pressed both of my wrists above my head. He kissed me feverishly. I clamped my mouth shut, refusing to let him succeed. He had lost his mind. Claire was pregnant, asleep in the bedroom. If she opened the door, she would see this obscene scene. And yet Larry didn't care at all. For a fleeting moment, hesitation and struggle flashed through my mind. The pain I had suppressed for so long stirred a brief, dangerous sense of revenge. I had suffered so much. Shouldn't she suffer once too, for it to be fair? But the next second, I overturned that tipping scale in my heart. Claire must not become another me. I turned my head with effort, just about to speak. When the living room light snapped on, I turned toward the light. Claire stood quietly at the bedroom doorway. I didn't know how long she had been watching. The air fell into a deathly silence. Larry stood up wordlessly, wiped his lips with the back of his hand, and curved his mouth into a smile. As if none of it mattered. You're awake, he said casually. Claire's gaze, venomous as poison, landed on me, then shifted to Larry. She sneered. I woke up at the wrong time, didn't I? Interrupted your fun? Then she turned to me. You bitch. Haven't I treated you well? And you dare steal my man? I was afraid something would happen to you. I just got married and still brought my husband here to take care of you. And this is how you repay me? I knew this day would come sooner or later. I just hadn't expected it to arrive like this. To be honest, I wasn't happy. But I didn't feel much guilt either. I stood up, my gaze calm. I never stole your man. You stole mine. My denial only made her angrier. Claire stormed toward me and slapped me hard across the face. Do you think I'm blind? If you hadn't seduced him, would he have forced himself on you? Your fiancé died, so go out and hire gigolos if you're that desperate. Wandering around in a nightdress in the middle of the night, you think I don't know what you're thinking? She used all her strength. My left cheek burned with pain. I licked the inside of my mouth. The metallic taste of blood spread across my tongue. I looked at her, raised my hand. Then lowered it again. That slap would repay the 5 years she had once helped me. I lifted my eyes and looked at Larry, a trace of mockery curving my lips. Aren't you going to comfort your wife? He glanced at me, then at Claire. His eyes were dark and unreadable as he spoke flatly. Go home. I'll explain. Claire's face was grim. What explanation could possibly make me forgive a double betrayal? You're the person I love most. She's my best friend. When you were sneaking around behind my back, did you ever think about today? I lowered my head and laughed softly. Double betrayal? And haven't I been betrayed twice as well? No. It wasn't the same. I was deceived, hidden from, and toyed with like a fool, for 5 years, without ever knowing the truth. Hearing my words, Larry frowned slightly. As if afraid I might say something else I shouldn't, he grabbed Claire and left. The living room, once tense and frozen, fell completely silent. I wasn't the one in the wrong. And I had already endured more than enough. So why was it always me who paid the price? After that night, Claire and I never contacted each other again. I packed up her belongings and mailed them to her. I didn't deliberately inquire about Larry anymore, nor did I know how he explained what had happened between us. As for Justin, I told him briefly what had happened that night. He made me brush my teeth for 3 straight hours, until my gums bled and my mouth was flooded with toothpaste. Only when I couldn't taste food anymore did he stop. I protested, but he kept his head down, squeezing out more toothpaste over and over. "Brush it clean," he said. "I can't stand the smell of him on you. Not even a trace." Helpless, I did as he said. Justin and I moved in together. On the day I moved, I saw Larry downstairs. Since the day he left with Claire the week before, I hadn't seen him again. Strangely enough, I had spent 5 years unable to forget him. Yet in this single week, I hadn't thought of him even once. I looked into his eyes. They were faintly red, filled with something that looked like unwillingness and resignation. His voice was hoarse. "I came back 3 years ago. I went to look for you, but Justin answered your phone. Gianna, at that moment, I hated you. I was only gone for 2 years. And you already had someone new. So I left again. When I saw you at the wedding, I suddenly felt a sense of revenge. That's why I married Claire." I lowered my eyes and spoke softly. "Do you want to know why Justin answered my phone 3 years ago?" He stared at me, his throat tightening as if something were lodged there, silently waiting. I looked at him and said, word by word, I was diagnosed with depression. I attempted suicide. Because I couldn't find you, I cut my wrists in the bathtub. I wanted to go with you. It was Justin who took me to the hospital. I stayed there for 10 days. Larry stared at me without blinking. Disbelief spread across his face. His tall frame trembled for a brief moment. After a long while, he opened his mouth. But his voice shook too badly to come out. "Nana, would you be willing to wait for me again? Claire is pregnant. She saved my life. I can't leave her now, at least not until she gives birth. I'll divorce her. I'll make it up to you properly. Okay?" I smiled and shook my head, refusing him. "Larry, what we had is already over. I'm slowly finding my way out. I hope you never appear before me again. Larry, everything is far too late. If, back at the wedding, you had only looked at me once, asked me just one question, whether I was doing well, I would have waited for you without hesitation. But now, I won't." Larry left. Just as I wished, he never appeared again. Justin said the apartment had bad feng shui and insisted on moving me into his private villa. I asked him why. At the time, he had just tossed all my medication into the trash. Hearing my question, he lifted a brow, that unmistakable roguish air about him. "It's too dark there. Not a place for you to grow. Gianna, when you're with me, you don't need those useless things." Watching the faint smile at the corner of his lips, I pretended not to notice. "And what if I relapse?" I asked. Justin curled his lips, teasing. "Relapse into madness?" I curved my eyes in a smile, warmth welling up inside me. In his eyes, I was simply a perfectly normal person. When Claire was 3 months pregnant, she contacted me again. After thinking it over, I agreed to meet her. Nearly 2 months had passed since we last saw each other. She looked much the same, still domineering, just as before. Her gaze toward me carried a trace of indifference as she spoke first. "I know everything now. Larry is the fiancé you searched for 5 years." She paused briefly, then continued. "If it were anyone else, I wouldn't even apologize. Because it would just mean she wasn't capable of keeping her lover, and I merely fought for what I deserved. I don't think I was wrong. But that person is you, Gianna. I don't want to apologize to you. I took your fiancé without knowing the truth. What I did was a little immoral. But if I don't get your forgiveness, Larry won't even look at me." I slowly lifted my gaze, calm and steady. "Your relationship has nothing to do with me." Claire clenched her fists. For the first time, her voice softened. "Gianna, I'm sorry. I love him. And my child can't grow up without a father. Even knowing your past, I still don't want to leave him. I saved his life. As long as I don't ask for a divorce, he will never leave me. For the sake of those 5 years when I helped you, even just a little. Can you forgive me?" I didn't answer. I looked at her for a long time. In my memory, Claire had always been passionate, outspoken. Someone who loved fiercely, hated boldly, and never begged. This was the first time she bowed her head. And it was for Larry. I had once loved Larry deeply. So deeply that I lost myself for 5 years. I had hated Claire for it. But now, she was just like I had been back then. And Larry had become her obsession. I gave her that apartment. It had been decorated according to Larry's tastes. And I no longer needed it. Consider it a gift for her child. Forgiveness? I think I'll never be able to forgive. A year later, Justin and I got married. On the day we registered our marriage, the weather was beautiful. A drive that should have taken half an hour. He stretched it into an hour and a half. Several times I nearly scolded him, but held back. At the Civil Affairs Office, a process that could have been finished in 10 minutes. Dragged on for nearly half an hour under his watch. I finally snapped. If you don't want to get married, then don't. Justin tugged at his lips, equally annoyed. TCH. Do you know who I'm doing all this for? I just wanted you to feel it, and I still get yelled at. I took a deep breath and let him have his way. When we walked out of the office, I held a warm red booklet in my hands. For a brief moment, I felt dazed. The last time I'd been here, I had received the news of Larry's accident. 6 years later, I stood here again. Married to someone else. 2 years later, I gave birth to a daughter. Justin cherished her beyond measure. He named her Faye. I once asked him if there was any special meaning behind the name. He looked at me for a long time, then joked, because I like you. I smiled. Yes. I like you too.